Cosmonaut Quickie!
So I saw Thor Ragnarok, and I was waiting to put my review out until everybody saw the movie, but then I realized that my review is basically spoiler-free, and then everybody else put their reviews out, and I'm kind of doing this pretty late, but whatever. I guess this is going to be less of a review and more of how I feel about the Marvel Cinematic Universe as it stands right now. So anyway, this movie was pretty fun. You know, it was funny, it was exciting, and I will probably never watch it ever again. The problem with Marvel movies these days, the problem I had with this movie especially, is that they're just too predictable. Unless you're the kind of moviegoer who's like really passive and kind of dumb and you don't think about things when you watch a movie, these movies are really easy to predict. The twist in Spider-Man Homecoming is genuinely surprising because these movies don't usually try to surprise you. When you watch Thor Ragnarok, you know exactly what's gonna happen, and that's whack. But I did like this movie, so I'm gonna real quick talk about the good stuff, the stuff I really liked. First of all, I love the performances. All the performances were really good. This lady from Westworld kind of worried me because in Westworld, she's really, really bad, but she did really well here. When the jokes fall flat, you don't really mind because you can tell everybody in this movie is having a good time. They're having fun. You can get into that sort of thing. Also, there are some genuinely funny moments, not just like quippy, silly Marvel movie funny. Actually, real comedy. I like that these movies are all getting way funnier as they go on. I also like that Thor and Loki have actually changed through the course of these movies. If you watch the first Thor movie, these two are like watered down versions of what they become later. This is especially apparent with Thor. He's gone from the yay verily type character to a huge goofball. That's not what he's like in the comics at all, but the comic universe Thor and the movie universe Thor are now completely different entities. And I gotta say, I like them both. I like that Loki has gone from chaotic evil to chaotic neutral. He's mellowed out a lot, and it makes him a much more interesting character. Now, if these drastic character changes came out of nowhere, then I'd probably be scratching my head a little bit. But that's the thing, these changes don't come out of nowhere. If you watch each movie that Thor is in, you can see that he gradually loses his old, noble, godlike personality, and he becomes more of an easygoing, jokey kind of guy. There aren't a lot of insanely long franchises where you see a character change this much over the course of like 5 movies. Also, Doctor Strange and Bruce Banner were great. I love that this universe is so interconnected now that you can just throw in other characters from other movies and the audience isn't going to worry about it. Nobody's going to be like, who's that guy? And the thing is, it's done better than a lot of comic crossovers that I've read. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has so far done a pretty good job of giving people a general idea of who these characters are, even if you don't really remember the movies that well. Oh, and Jeff Goldblum in this movie, he's the best character. He's the best character in the whole movie. And it is a sin that he's not in it more. But I'll get back to that later. One last thing that I liked was how Marvel decided to just completely ditch the humans and Earth subplots from the other movies. Now that there's no stupid humans to get in the way, Thor can spend the whole movie hanging out with aliens and monsters in space. And that's when he's at his best, to be honest. Now that Marvel made a movie with a talking space raccoon, they're comfortable with trying out some of the crazier shit. However, I think Marvel is still playing it a little too safe. This movie could have been so much better. And with that, I'm gonna go into the shit that I didn't like. But don't worry, it's actually a really short list. It's only like one thing. The one thing that I didn't like was that this movie adheres to the Marvel Cinematic Universe formula when it doesn't really need to. This movie is split into 2 halves. The Asgard story with Hela, and the Arena Planet Jeff Goldblum story. Now, one of these stories is fun and compelling. The other one is not. The Hela plotline is super predictable and not entirely fun to watch. The Arena subplot is creative, colorful, funny, exciting. It's just, ooh, it's so good. You have so much fun watching this stuff. And there are so many great moments in this movie, but none of them are from the Hela plotline at all. These movies all follow a similar formula. The hero faces a new bad guy, the bad guy beats them, or, gets a leg up on them, but then they come back and they beat the bad guy at the end. This has happened in most of the Marvel movies that have come out so far. I'm okay with there being a villain or an antagonist, but I don't think things need to follow the same structure the whole time. I think Kurt Russell in Guardians 2 is an interesting character. His motivations are still world domination, like every other bad guy, but his personality and intentions are much more interesting. Tell me a single character trait that Hela has. She's just Sword Lady. Now, I would have loved a weird sci-fi story where Thor and Hulk get trapped on this Jeff Goldblum planet and they go through space fighting monsters. That would have been so much more fun. The Doomsday end of the world storyline just didn't fit here. Now, I think Jeff Goldblum would have made a perfectly fine antagonist in this movie. You don't even need a complicated reason for Thor and Loki to be on this planet either. Say that Thor gets a call from the Avengers saying that Hulk is missing. So then Thor goes around trying to find him. Maybe he ends up on Earth and talks to Doctor Strange for a little bit. And then he ends up on this planet, gets captured, and then Loki's there because he isn't allowed in Asgard anymore because he's a bad boy. Look, it makes perfect sense. You could fill a lot of fun stuff in with that very simple premise. Basically, make this a Thor movie and a Planet Hulk movie, but lean a little more into the Planet Hulk stuff. Hell, if this movie was called Thor, Planet Hulk, goddamn, that would have been so sick. It would have been very confusing to the general populace, but it would have been very badass. People only got excited for this movie when they found out that Hulk was going to be in it. So why don't you just make it a Hulk-Thor crossover movie? There's a comic book miniseries that I like a lot called Astonishing Spider-Man and Wolverine, and it's just kind of a side story about how Peter Parker and Wolverine get trapped in time, and they keep jumping around through various eras and planets, and they just get into a lot of wacky situations. And it plays off of these two characters, and they have their own little adventures, and it's just really exciting and really fun. For the most part, it's really lighthearted, but there's a lot of little moments of emotion that shine through because these two are completely different guys. It's basically what I wanted out of this movie. I just wanted a story about these two superheroes just trapped in space doing weird shit. It would have been completely different from any other Marvel movie that would have been out there, and it would have been so much fun. I get that there are bigger Infinity War related reasons as to why this movie does some of the things that it does, but with Ragnarok being its own movie, I think it would have been way better without Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok is super ambitious and super fun, but I feel like if it ditched the Asgard plot altogether, it would have been seen as one of the all-time greatest Marvel movies. Right up there with Guardians 1, which I think is honestly the best one. Anyway, I don't want people thinking I hated this movie because I did like it a lot. I think it's special and I think it does something different for the franchise. I think it's worth watching because it gives into the fun and silliness of comic book movies. I just want to watch a mainline Marvel film that surprises me for once. That's all. So 7 out of 10. It's good, but it could be better. Hi guys, sorry this is a super quick video and also it was really late, but I'm working on something big for the release of Justice League, so I figured I'd throw this up in the meantime. Okay, bye, follow us on Twitter, see you next week, peace out.